Hey, everybody. Hey, happy, what is it today? Wednesday? Happy Wednesday to all y'all. Um, if you are on here, please get those likes up. Tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting. Um, and yeah, I also want to give a special shout out to all of you supporters, those of you who have signed up for the channel membership to support the Black Men Built That video series. I'm hoping to launch sometime early next year. Also, those of you who have sent some love via Super Chat and Cash App, I appreciate all of y'all. Again, if you would like to do so to continue to show support, you can find me on Cash App in Venmo, Shay Sade. So I want to hop just right into today's topic. It's actually somewhat of a spinoff of a conversation that I had yesterday with a Chantel Simone. Shout out to Chantel Simone. If you have not seen that interview that I did with her yesterday, it was fire. Definitely check it out. But we talked a little bit about just finances and actually what is going on in the Black community, especially for African American women. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. It's the like the hairless. Let me make sure I give you my proper give honor where honor is due. Shout out for the $10 super chat. But again, so I've talked about this a little bit before, right? Finances and just really having a honest look about actually what is happening in the Black community, what's happening to Black women in particular. And so, I sat down with Chantel yesterday, had a really cool conversation, and I'm kind of wanted to continue that conversation because I think it's actually important and it is actually what is going on today. And so the title, right? Broke Boss Babes, basically justifying 304 behavior. Um what does it actually mean? So here is the thing. And y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. Thank you, kings and queens. Good to be here, sister. Yeah, thank you for those of you who are on. Again, get those likes up if you are here. But I mean, so many of you know, I've heard it, and you've probably heard it. We hear all the time about women leveling up, women being boss babes, and I'm sure everybody less one of y'all who are listening to me know about some female who's running a business. Here's the thing. I'm not against it. I am not against it. And I also want to make this point. I've seen a few commenters come in and talk about like, black like black women can't have dreams, or it seems like black women can't hope for something better or hope for a good life or luxurious life. That's not what I'm saying at all, and I would never promote that. I think anybody, right, should can desire to do better, can desire to work harder, can desire to build with a man, can desire to have nice things. I think anybody can do that, and black women are not excluded from that. So nothing that I say is ever to deter black women from saying, "Oh, well, you just have to settle for less." That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you can hope for something, you can wish for something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. Or if you do want it to happen, we have to look through a realistic lens. Talking about reality is not shooting somebody's hopes down. It's not, oh, well, you're not operating in faith, you're not being motivational, you're not being encouraging. No, what faith actually does is look at the reality, look at the situation for what it is. Like, you can't have faith and fantasy at the same time. Like, true godly faith has to actually understand and has to first call a spade a spade. It has to look at it for what it is. Then there once that's talked about, you know what I mean, you get a word from God, you have a clear word. Okay, this is, I know this is a situation, but I believe through this, through that, God has shown me this. Then we can talk about it. Then you put action to it. But it's not, faith isn't just good positive affirmations. It's not just good positive thoughts. And so just because you're having an honest conversation that says, hey, maybe the majority of businesses fail, that's not me, taking a shot at anyone. That's not me saying black women can't dream, or women in general can't be bosses or can't be successful. That's not saying that. That's just having an honest assessment about what is going on. Anybody who undergoes any project, whether you're wanting to build a building, build a housing development, buy a house, you know what I mean, purchase a car, whatever it is you are, there's a process that you have to go through. You have to search out the market, right? You have to figure out, well, what are things going for these days? How much money do I make? Like, there is a practical, logical process you have got to go through in order to go through that endeavor. So again, I really want to challenge that, or even encourage women to know that looking at something for what it is does not mean that you are being fearful, does not mean that you are not operating in faith, does not mean that you are not being positive. No, it just means that you're being realistic. And like I said, you can't have faith without first acknowledging reality. Faith is not built on fantasy, it's not built on some fairy tale. It's built upon the truth, right? And you first have to acknowledge the truth, right? So I wanted to clarify that. Shout out to what is that? Jay John for the 149 super chat. Much love. um But anyway, so I wanted to touch upon that. But again, talking about boss babes. So here's the thing: we hear a lot about this. I see it all the time. I hear women are leveling up. How many boss up courses are out there? Boss up femininity courses, boss up level up femininity classes, YouTube pages, conferences, books, seminars, videos, podcasts. How many of those boss up, level up courses exist? And why does it exist? It's because women want to do better. Women want to do better. And again, I am not necessarily against that. But I think it's incredibly important when we have these conversations, we have to do it with a realistic lens and we have to first talk about what's going on. And so what I wanted to do is I really wanted to dive a little bit deeper into this whole boss babe concept. And then also what I believe this boss babe ideology is actually in some ways encouraging, or how women are using that to encourage promiscuous behavior. So I'm going to pull up just a few stats, right? Because this doesn't really mean anything unless we just look at some data. So let me pull it up real quick. Okay, so this is right here. I wanted to look at this real quick. It says this is called the true failure rate of small businesses. So again, anybody who's actually wanting to start a business, and I know, I've seen this before. Many of you who watched Canvas Sammys, you'll see different women come on and say, "Oh, I'm a business owner," and then he'll ask, "What do you do?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I sell sparkly pencils, or I do lashes, right? Or I don't know, whatever it may be. I sell bundles of hair." So it's like, and he's like, "Okay, that's not a real business." Now we can argue back and forth about what constitutes a real business, but for the sake of things, right now we're focusing on small businesses, which obviously come in many different ways, shape, or forms. The majority of businesses, from my understanding, are solopreneurships, meaning it is one person, right? It is one person, especially those run by Black women. But so I want to look at this is the true failure rate of small businesses. And I want to look at this so that we can actually understand those boss babes, those level up women, level up chicks, all those who are hoping to do better and saying that they are doing better. What is the probability of actually doing so if you run a small business? This is entrepreneur.com. Okay, this is not Joe Blow's blog. This is not some random person that I seen. This is entrepreneur.com. And this was written back in January earlier this year. So it says, understanding how and why businesses fail can help prepare you for success. And again, in order for you to actually have success, again, in order for you to be able to prepare and plan to do better, you have to first have an accurate understanding of the market that you are entering. So again, looking at reality is not being fearful, is not you being negative. That is just called reality. And that is actually what is needed in order for you to move forward effectively. Again, so let me pull this article back up. Wait, let me do it. Okay, so it reads, how have you heard that 90% of new businesses fail, or that 50% of new businesses fail? Stick around in the entrepreneurial community long enough and you'll likely hear a wide spectrum of claims, mostly falling between these two extremes. But what is the true failure rate of small businesses, and should it influence your decision as an entrepreneur? Says what we know about the failure rate of small businesses. According to data from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, as reported by Fundura, approximately 20% of small businesses fail within the first year. By the end of the second year, 30% of businesses will have failed. By the end of the fifth year, about half will have failed. And by the end of the decade, only 30% of businesses will remain, a 70% failure rate. It says, of course, we have to accept several caveats in these data. Here are some variables. So it just goes into some of the different things that can cause a business to either succeed or to fail. But as we know, running a business, it does include many, many, many different things. It says here, I'm going to skip over here, and it says why the failure rate matters. It says some people wield small business failure statistics as a tool for discouragement. They want to warn would-be entrepreneurs about the dangers of starting a business, but there's a more useful way to study and learn from statistics like these. For starters, a failure rate gives you an idea of how and when businesses tend to fail. Only 20% fail within the first year, but 50% within the first 5 years. In other words, an additional 30% of businesses will fail between years 2 and 5, or about 7.5% of the initial amount per year. If we assume a kind of death by natural cause and take that 7.5% figure as a predictable rate of failure, we can assume about 12.5% of businesses in the first year failed to lack of preparation in one way or another. If you're better prepared than the bottom eighth of business owners, you're in good shape. So again, just to really wrap this up, basically what this is saying is if you are running a business and you want to be successful, you have to prepare. This is pretty common sense, right? This is common sense stuff. And again, for all of those who want to be boss babes, level up chicks, I see it's called living within your means. Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, this is why I'm saying it is incredibly important to have realistic conversations. But at the end of the day, if we look at the stats, 70% of small businesses actually do fail within 10 years, right? And there is there's a progress to that, but most of them still at the end of the day do fail. So the reason I say that is because there's no way we can have everybody being a boss babe, have all these women talking about being a boss babe, talking about leveling up, talking about, basically putting themselves in a level to where they deserve such a high caliber of men. They're being successful when we see, based upon the data, that most businesses actually do not succeed. And this is not to be a Debbie Downer, but it's to say, okay, so what we're hearing in mass scale is not necessarily actually matching the data. And so again, I would say this, it's like, you're a boss babe, truly, truly, truly a boss babe, then it's like, are you part of that 30%? You know what I mean? Is everyone part of that 30%? Because again, majority of people fail. Again, not trying to be Debbie Downer, not trying to say, oh, you can't do it and you can't desire luxury and you can't desire to do good things. But as the article actually showed, many people prepare for lack of preparation. Going back to my earlier point, if you don't have a realistic understanding of what is happening in the market, if you can't talk and understand the different things that are going to happen and prepare accordingly, then you cannot just sustain on positive feelings alone, right? You have to put action behind it. There has to actually probably be a plan. There has to be organized finances. Like there's all these different things that go into maintaining a small business. And just saying you're a boss babe and having an Instagram page or two and having cute photos, all that kind of different stuff doesn't mean it's a boss babe. It doesn't even necessarily mean that you're making money. And so why do I think it's important? I think it's important because sometimes I think we can use these terms as women to put ourselves in a level that we are not at, or to try to elevate ourselves to a level that we're not at. And it can be prideful, honestly. It can be prideful. It can make us think that we are worth more, that we're better, than particular people, that we require certain things from men, when in reality, we are not necessarily even living up to our own, what we're stating. We're really not being boss babes. We're a part of the 70% that are struggling. So, again, like I said, if you really are a boss babe, that is a rarity. And there is a lot of work associated within it. And I think for it to be thrown around so freely, and I think especially for there to be a lot of courses that really they really try to monetize off of that without really talking about, okay, what's the likelihood of failing versus succeeding? I think it's dangerous if you do that. But I want to move a little bit further into another article that goes a little bit more deeply into Black women in particular. Okay, what they are actually doing. For those of you who are on, please get those likes up, tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting. Again, I want to give a special shout out to those super chats and super stickers. If you would like to support the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo, Shay Charday. But I want to pull up this article again that goes up a little bit more deeply into just how Black women in particular are doing today economically. So let me pull this up really quick, because I also think this is relevant. I think this is incredibly relevant when we have these kinds of discussions. Let me see. Let me stop sharing that. Let me get a new screen. Okay, okay. So this one, I see this. This is therapeutic. When I see women overlook average men because they think looks and money or everything are a joke, this is the best information women need. Absolutely. You know, one of the reasons I like to actually have these conversations is because this is real life. This is real life. This is not a fantasy. Real life is 70% of businesses fail within 10 years. It doesn't mean that they can't go and try again and eventually be successful. It doesn't mean they can't find somewhere else where they may be successful. But it means that it is rough to do those kind of different things, and that most women are not boss babes by just the pure numbers alone. And so I like to talk about these things because this is actually reality. And I think when we can address what's going on in reality, then we are better off at learning how to navigate it. So, okay, so it says 5 facts about Black women in the labor force. Again, I thought this was pretty important. Let's see, pull it up. So, also, this is written from the U.S. Department of Labor, right? An official website of the United States government. So, again, this is not some like random blog that I'm just pulling out of nowhere. I mean, this is pretty reputable. This is the U.S. government. Well, I mean, you take it for grain of salt, but you know, they're probably going to be one of the most trustworthy sources out here regarding this kind of stuff. So it says 5 facts about Black women in the labor force. So I'm going to try to read through most of it because I think it's pretty relevant. It says Black women are an integral part of the American labor force, but have long faced a pay gap due to long-standing inequities in education and the labor market. In addition, they have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Black women workers are overrepresented in low-paying service sector jobs, which are among the hardest hit in terms of job losses. August 3rd, 2021 marks Black Women's Equal Pay Day, a symbolic representation of the number of additional days Black women working full-time year-round must work on average to earn what white, non-Hispanic men earned the year before. Here are 5 facts about Black women in the labor force. Okay. So it says Black women earn 63 cents for every dollar earned by white, non-Hispanic men. Let's start there. Black women earn 63 cents of every dollar earned by a white, non-Hispanic man. I think Black women earn like 85 cents, around that, of what Black men earn. So again, I've mentioned this before, Black women by and large are one of the most least paid people in the entire economy. Why is that important? We have to take this into consideration when we are having conversations about leveling up, about hypergamy, and about being a boss babe. Because how are you being a boss babe but you're the least paid? I see this video will not get a lot of likes or comments because it's the truth and the truth hurts. Great fast statistics and data. Appreciate the love as always. If you do like this video, you're on here, please get those likes up. Tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting, or share it. To your point, it may not go viral, but it's actually good stuff that people need to hear and it's helpful. So if you think this is helpful, again, share it, show your love, show your support, send it to whoever you want to, because it's, like I said, this is actually real life. This is actually what people go through. And I'm like, we need to talk about real life. We need to talk about what we are going through. So again, if this interests you, share it, like it, support it. You can find me on Cash App, Venmo. I always accept super chats too. Those are always appreciated. But moving on. So Black women make 60% of every dollar of white non-Hispanic men. So here it does a breakdown, right? Black women earn 63 cents for every dollar earned by white men. And then here we have, okay, men's earnings. Says the amount women earn for each dollar earned by non-Hispanic white men. So Asian women earn 87.1% of white men. so basically white women, right, earn about 78%, 79% of white men. Black women earn 63%, and then it says American Indians, and then Hispanics are the lowest. And I think Hispanics includes some immigrant populations in there. So it says, okay, so number two, this wage gap is not just driven by educational differences. It says even controlling for education, Black women still earn less than their white male counterparts. Among those with a bachelor's degree, Black women only earn 65% of what comparable white men do, for instance. And among people with advanced degrees, Black women earn 70% of what white men do. In fact, Black women with advanced degrees have median weekly earnings less than white men with only a bachelor's degree. So even with the education, even with women who are going and leveling up their career and their jobs, I mean, they're still not getting paid equally to white men who have lesser degrees. We know this. There are reasons for this. Obviously, there are systematic reasons for this. I can even speak to this in certain situations I had in corporate, which is one of the reasons I decided to leave. I knew or felt, I was like, okay, long term, I think I could do better off by my own, obviously with work and support, but nevertheless, I can say I know that to be my own experience. Corporate world also has its own system, its own political and racist system. It is a very real thing. So it's not to say that certain women can't do well, but by and large, discrimination is still very real. So I can vouch for that personally. Everyone earned less than white men. Yes, absolutely. And again, the reason I'm focusing specifically on Black women right now is because I think this is an important conversation for us to have, especially when we like to talk about leveling up and we like to talk about Black women in luxury and deserving luxury, which I did a video about that earlier today where I kind of went into this. I think it's really important to actually understand what's going on in the lives of Black women so we can actually dissect why is it that we're saying these kinds of things, and is that even valid? So moving on. So we see, let me see. Yeah. So basically, Black women they're just not being compensated the way they would be if they were in a different body. I mean, I think that's pretty clear. Okay, let me see. Okay. So it says, okay, even controlling for education, Black women are earning less than white men. The amount Black women earn for each dollar earned by non-Hispanic white men with the same educational attainment. So, okay, so here we go. With the same educational attainment, we see, okay, men's earnings. Dang, so it says for every $1, I'm looking at that. Okay, so it's 76.3%. It says for high school graduates and college, it's 68%. 66.5%, 65.4%. So basically, I mean, it just breaks down, and it basically shows, again, even with a higher education, Black women are still not necessarily making as much. The amount of Black women earn with education. Okay, so we move on. Black women have the highest labor force participation rate of all women. So it's saying typically Black women have higher labor force participation rates than other women, meaning a higher share of Black women are either employed or unemployed and looking for work. For instance, in 2019, Black women's labor force participation rate was 60.5% compared with 56.8% for white women. Even in 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, their labor force participation rate was 58.8%. compared to 56.2% for women overall. So it says again, compared with other Black women, women have highest labor force participation rate. Okay, so basically, they're working pretty hard. They're working hard, or they're looking for work hard. It says Black women have also experienced high unemployment, especially in the wake of the pandemic. High unemployment. So let's talk about it. In 2020, Black women's unemployment rate was 10.9% compared to 7.6% for white women and 8.3% for all women. So Black women was higher than the average of all the women. This is no doubt reflective of the steep job losses and slow recovery experienced by this group early 2020, though even prior to the pandemic, their unemployment was relatively high, 5.6%, compared with white 3.2%, Asian 2.7%, and Hispanic 4.7%. Okay, so it's showing that Black women unemployment was higher even of that of white and Asian and Hispanic women prior to the pandemic. Obviously, after the pandemic, it went up. So again, why are we talking about these things? We have to take this stuff into consideration when we are talking about leveling and bossing up and being boss babes, deserving luxury, all these different kinds of things. We have to have an honest conversation about what is actually happening with Black women, what is actually going on with our pocketbooks, what is it that we are affording. We've got to talk about these things. Very, very important. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Much appreciated. Oh, wait, I was trying to do my hand clap. I don't want to forget that. Don't want to forget the hand clap. It says pay differences also correlate with what your degree is in psychology versus engineering. Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard that too. Sometimes, you do have to control for the fact that women tend to take different jobs than men do, and so that can be a big feature, right, as to why women in general, it can be argued women in general make less than men because of some of the jobs that they're taking, other factors like that. But yeah, something to take into consideration. I see working but broke. Right. So absolutely. So we're almost done. And again, I'm going somewhere with this. We have to take this in consideration when we talking about boss babes, talking about leveling up, right? Talking about Black women deserve luxury. We have to know Black women are getting paid. They're one of the least paid, right? Certainly compared to when you think of men and women in general. And then just also women, they tend to be one of the least paid. And they're some of the most unemployed. So we need to take all of this into consideration when we are having conversations about luxury, deserving luxury, and being a boss. All of this is important and relevant. Moving on. It says Black moms too have relatively high labor force participation rates. It says Black mothers, 2/3 of whom are equal, primary, or sole earners in their households, have higher labor force participation rates than other moms. This has historically been the case, and 2020 was no exception. 76% were in the labor force compared with 71.3% of white mothers, 62.8% of Hispanic moms, and 64.3% of Asian mothers. There we see the labor force participation rate. They are highest among Black moms, obviously 76% for Black moms. Right below that is white women at 71.3%, and then Hispanic at 62.8%, Asian at 64.3%. So what did we learn from this? Black women, even when they work harder, are not compensated equally. In many cases, we are still the most unemployed, and arguably some of the least paid, even when we have educations, and even when we have done the work to put ourselves in a higher economic bracket. So, taking all this into consideration, also about what we learned about how likely are businesses to succeed. Businesses, 70% of businesses fail within 10 years. So, taking all that into consideration, we can see that based upon the narrative, right, that is promoted and based upon what the numbers show, very few of us are actually boss babes who are leveling up. Now, again, does that mean that you shouldn't desire things? Does that mean that you shouldn't work for nice things? No, it does not. But what I think we should be cautious against is using some of these different terms, some of these different rhetoric and ideologies to position ourselves as better, right? Or to position ourselves as more deserving than what we actually are. I think that's the bigger issue. When we want to talk about leveling up and we want to have really high expectation for things that men should do, when we complain about even Black men not making enough money and we make less than them, and we again are just kind of least paid in general. Of the women, we are the least unemployed. I mean, when we have these different conversations and we don't take into consideration how we are doing as a whole, I think it makes our argument a little silly. I think it's just silly. And I don't think we're necessarily looking at all the factors. So to what I said earlier, again, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that if you are a woman, if you are a Black woman, that you should not deserve better. You should not deserve. You shouldn't want nice things or want luxury, or that you can't hope or dream. Not saying that at all. I think you should. I think it also has to be balanced and weighed up against reality, and there needs to be an understanding of what's going on. And there also should be an understanding that you don't deserve something by nature of just who you are. You work with it, or you work with a man that is willing to help provide it for you, or you're willing to support him and you guys build it together, however that works. But I think that is so much more important. I see, thank you. What is it? Thank you, Miss Delta Guy, for the $20 super chat. Much respect to you. Much love. I appreciate the support. All y'all, again, if you are on here, please get those likes up. Tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting. We are actually we're trying to have an honest conversation here. We're trying to have an honest conversation. And, I think this is important because there's so much talk. And there's a lot of us. We want to talk about fun things. I'm a woman. I want to talk about fun things. I want to talk about going to nice restaurants and resorts, and who doesn't want to do that? We all want to have fun. We want to relax. Life can be stressful, and we want to talk about fun things. And so I think it's good to do that. But I think it's necessary that we have these kind of conversations too, because you talk about the fun stuff and you don't bring in reality, then we're kind of living in a fairy tale, and you can't exist. You don't, if you're living in a fairy tale, then you don't actually have the tools to move forward in real life. It said, "Who was that, and why did that make me think sorry?" Yeah, you said, "Yes, I help my mom a lot." See, and that's the thing. I think reality is a good thing. And to your point earlier, black taxes, y'all, that's a real thing. So again, so this brings me to a bigger point. While we, I think, as women in particular, are maybe portraying ourselves, or maybe we may be, what's the word? I think we may be like encouraged or feel the pressure to try to promote a boss babe image. The reality is many of us are actually struggling financially. So I saw this video. This is the last thing I want to cover off. I saw this video and I thought this was actually a perfect example of the boss babe the boss babe epidemic, if you will, the boss babe issue, right? Where on one end we want to portray like we are something greater, like we are something grand, but in reality we are financially struggling, and as a result sometimes we resort to certain behaviors just because we need the money. So I'm going to bring up this video. I actually saw it on, I think, Real Talk with Yanni posted, but I think it was really interesting because to me it's a telltale sign of what is actually going on today. Let me see if I can, let me pull this. Okay. Okay, let me stop screen. Again, if y'all are on here, please get those likes up, tag anybody on this discussion. As somebody said before, okay, this may not get the most likes, but we need to have these kind of conversations. She said broke babes. So again, I saw this post that I think it was like a TikTok video. She's hitting on all these different messages that I think are definitely worth addressing, but I just want you to get an overall sense of the ideology here. Let me see if I can do it again. Okay, if it lets me go back. Okay.
Because you're a female, have some money. Because you followed me back.
I'm going to try to say this as delicately as I possibly can, but money is quite literally the only thing a lot of cishet men bring to the table. No, because really think about it. Most of you guys can't stay faithful. Most of you don't possess emotional intelligence, so women are left doing the emotional labor in the relationship. Most of y'all don't carry your weight when it comes to the housework or the children. And most of you guys can't satisfy women sexually, which means the bulk of your value stems from how much money you make. On top of that, a lot of cishet men don't even like women, so why are we acting like this isn't a two-way street? The same way women will enter relationships with men solely for money is the same way in which men enter relationships with women for consistent sex. Women don't seek out men with money because we're just manipulative users by nature. It's because we see through men, and we know that if we attach ourselves to someone who barely sees us as a person, we may as well be getting something out of it.
So, okay, so
Because
I
you're a
think I'm gonna
female.
have to. I want
Have some money.
to dissect this bit by bit because there is a lot of different things that went into here. I kind of want to address some of those different talking points, but I think at the end of the day, it leads to this punch that I think to me is actually in some ways very much related to the fact that at the end of the day, many women are broke and they're looking for a means and a way to get money. Let me just dissect these talking points a bit. You said cishet men. That's a cishet man, I think, is the proper term nowadays. Also, shout out again for the boss babe epidemic. Appreciate the super chat. Again, for those of you who are on, please get those likes up. I need to see at least 43 likes. My phone just fell. At least 43 likes on there. Again, if you want to show support to the show, you can always feel this free to send in your super chat. You can find me on Cash App or Venmo also. And we are talking about broke boss babes and 304 behavior. And for those of you who just hopped on, just give you all a quick recap. What we basically covered off is that while there is maybe a high level of women, or certainly there is a loud enough message, I don't have metrics behind this, but there is a loud enough message out there that is promoting and very much pushing a boss babe, level up, hypergamy kind of lifestyle that modern women and also Black women, I think, feel the need to portray. But the reality is, and the stat shows that many women are not boss babes and they're not making a lot of money, especially Black women. 70% of small businesses fail within 10 years, according to the entrepreneur.com. They did an article on this earlier this year. And we see that Black women, by and large, are some of the least paid and the least employed. So when we want to talk about luxury, level up, hypergamy, men that are on our level, all of those different things, we actually should take into consideration what is happening to Black women economically, what is actually going on in our day-to-day lives. And what we see is that there are some struggles. So that is what that's where we kind of covered off as far as this is what's happening with Black women economically by and large. And then now we're moving forward into I wanted to actually review this video that I think is very much in line with why women are acting like 304s. And the different talking points, the different things I think that we are believing, portraying, or even participating in that I think eventually leads to 304-ish behavior, and to also in some ways treating other men like they basically are just a wallet, because some of us actually really are in need of a wallet because we're broke. But let me continue. Okay. So I'm gonna break this a bit by bit.
Because you followed me back.
I'm going to try to say this as delicately as I possibly can, but money is quite literally the only thing a lot of cishet men bring to the table.
Also, how are you going to blame women for a system the patriarchy put in place? So, okay, I don't think I personally have ever heard any men in particular or people ever blame women for a patriarchal system. I've always heard the blame be on men. So I don't think I understand that point. But I'll continue. It says many businesses, again, for the super chat, much love. Many businesses are inherited and we have no generational wealth. Bingo. I think it says now, oh gosh, is it 50%? I'd have to go back and look. I actually covered this off in the video I posted earlier this day where it talks about how economic mobility has gone down in the US. And it was saying how I want to say like 50% of wealth is generational in America, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's a pretty high amount. It's like almost the majority of wealth or wealthy people are wealthy from inheritance. And of course, being a Black in America, if you're a descendant of sharecroppers or slaves, as many of us are, you're probably not coming from Well, not to say that it can't happen from an individual standpoint, but we know the wealth, even since slavery times, it has not gone up that much. I want to say it was like around 0.5% or 0.8% that we owned during the slavery era, because there were free black people and there were black business owners, even in slavery. But since then, it's gone up, I think it's gone up to like a little below 2%. I'd have to go back and look the exact numbers, but it was a Washington Post that actually talked about this not too long ago. So look it up. You'll find it interesting. So we will continue on this video.
No, because really think about it. Most of you guys can't stay faithful. Most of you.
Okay, so do y'all know? Do y'all know the I don't know the rate about this, but from my understanding, the rate of affairs and cheating, I thought it was pretty consistent for men and women, right? I don't know the numbers on that. Y'all let me know in the comment section if any of you guys have stats on this or have any understanding on this. Let me know. But I know it's a pretty common idea or popular belief that men cheat so much more than women. But from my understanding, from what I've heard recently, it's almost equal. The rates are almost equal. But y'all let me know in the comment section. If any of you guys have anything to say on that, let me know. I'm going to continue.
You don't possess emotional intelligence, so women are left doing the emotional labor in the relationship. Most of y'all don't carry your weight when it comes to the housework.
Okay, so again, like I said, this is a short video, but I kind of wanted to break it down bit by bit because I think she's hitting on some good points there. So as far as emotional intelligence, this needs to be understood. Ladies, men and women operate differently. We think so differently. And so I think sometimes what happens, and I'm not exempt from this, I can be guilty of this sometimes. I think sometimes what happens is we think we need to talk to our husbands, right? Or talk to our significant others, relationships with. We need to talk to them like they are our girlfriends. We talk to them like that. We talk to them as if they're females. We talk to them as if they have, they operate and they think like females and they're interested in the same thing, and they're just not. And I think sometimes one of the misunderstandings that can happen between men and women is that I think sometimes we can forget that. Women in particular, we can forget that. We can have so much time where we talk to our girlfriends and we are just sharing emotions and we are sharing details about relationships and, girl, did he do this? Did he say that? Where did he take you? What was he wearing? What were you wearing? How did you feel? How was the weather? How was the food? How was your makeup? Like, we'll go really deep into details. And then now when we go and talk to our husband or our boyfriend, whoever we're with, we want to engage on those levels and have those detailed conversations with things that to us are important. And to them, they're just like, whatever, like, why are we talking about those deep things? And so I think sometimes when women talk about being emotionally intelligent, what they don't understand is that there is a different emotional makeup. And so I don't know that I'm convinced that there are so many men out there who are just completely unintelligent, and that women out there are just so highly, functional when it comes to your emotions. I don't know that I believe that. I think what's more likely is that men and women think differently. And because we live in a culture where there's so much tension between the genders, instead of understanding that, we think that we are supposed to treat men the way we treat our girlfriends. And I think that is where there's a lot of confusion that comes in. Shout out to Percy for the $10 super chat. I see Shay. This generation calls themselves bosses because it sounds cool. If they knew what real bosses go through 2 or 3 years before you make a profit, they would not be saying it. They call selling lashes a business. So that's what I said earlier today. I said earlier today that, like, shout out to Ashley Hill. I appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out some things today. My hair is going through some process. But so that's what I'm saying. I think we throw around these terms without actually necessarily understanding the implications behind it and actually what goes into doing it. And so that's what I wanted to bring up. Just want to say, love your hair. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love. I see Black in Effect. Men can't emote to women like we are women. Women don't even like or respect that. Women are literally just finding weird ways of insulting men from every single angle. Bingo. And so, do I believe that there are all these highly intelligent, emotional women, and then men are like emotionally, you know what I mean, stunted? I don't know that I believe that. I think what's more likely is that men and women communicate differently. We are socialized differently. Now, that's not to say that there are, men who don't know how to process their emotions, because I think to a certain extent, because men are expected to do a certain way and expected to be a rock, sometimes that maybe can limit them from exploring or exploring or expressing certain emotions, because that can be used against them if it's expressed to the wrong person. So there is that reality, but I'm not going to sit there and act like, women aren't as twice as likely to be depressed, because we can't sit here and act like, oh, these men are so emotionally unintelligent and women are twice as likely to be depressed as men are. We ourselves have our own psychological, emotional issues. Again, this is not bashing. This is not saying, oh, all of you women have problem. I have issues, right? I have emotional up and downs. I have days where I wake up, I'm sad for no reason, or I'm extra tired. And I have days I wake up and it's like, oh, I feel great. So it's like, we all have those. But I'm just saying, if we go into a relationship as females thinking that men are going to relate and emote and talk to us and be interested in the same things that we talk to our girlfriends about, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. And some men just will never understand a woman's emotional makeup, because a lot of us women, we don't even understand our emotional makeup sometimes. We'll just feel sad for no reason. We may feel depressed for a moment and then have a piece of cheesecake and then now we're happy, or feel really down and then have a phone call and then now we're ready to like take over the world. Like, we may have 5 different emotions in 5 minutes, right? And sometimes, not to say guys don't, but maybe they don't, you know what I mean? Or maybe they're just more simple. So again, this whole idea of emotional unavailable men, are we really that much more emotionally intelligent, or are we just we maybe process things differently, or are we maybe nurture differently, you know what I mean? Or is our makeup different? All things to consider. I see men don't think like women don't think like men. Steve Harvey, messy on women with them. Yeah, they don't. We think differently. Continue.
Or the children. And most of you guys can't satisfy women sexually.
Oh yeah, okay. So on that point, you're not helping with the housework, you're not helping with children, and you can't satisfy women sexually. So I don't have any evidence really behind this stats to say how many men are doing housework. I do remember, the only thing that I can remember is that shout out to Obsidian. He I think wrote an article and actually put this in his book, where he talked about how short men are actually make better husbands. And one of the things that he mentioned in that article was that they are found to participate in more housework. And so that is one thing that I've seen. But other than that, I can't say I really have any ideas on who does more housework. I know there's men and women out there who are nasty and don't know how to clean in this generation. So I think it can reasonably be said that there's men who don't do housework. And I think that it can also reasonably be said that there's women who don't know how to do housework either and don't know how to clean. I've seen beautiful Instagram photos of women, face beat, lace front laid, lashes on point, brows popping, everything on point. And then you see like dirty laundry, and you see McDonald's and Snicker wrappers on the back in her bed that's undone. You just see trash. And she looks good, but there's like, her room is nasty. Like, I have actually seen this. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that I can believe that it's like, oh, all these women are clean and all these women are dirty. I'm like, yeah, that's questionable. I think you may find that across the board. I don't have any stats behind that. To me, that just sounds like personal experience. Not to disqualify her experience. That's what she's gone through. But I think it's also safe to be said that complaint can be shared on both sides. But y'all let me know what you think. Am I wrong on that? Okay, also shout out to Philip. It says the Pick Me crew is putting the time in, dropping gym after gym. All right, so he said, I've never had to cook housework. All right. So, like I said, so I will say I know dudes out there who don't know how to cook or clean for nothing, and there's females out there who are the same because we're in the modern era right now where, like I said, you liable to see both on both ends. So, okay. So let me move on to this next part of the video. She says,
which means the bulk of your value stems from how much money you make. On top of that, a lot of cishet men don't even like women. So
and okay, so we're dissecting what she's saying. It says, and the kicker is that it's more psychologically damaging to be used for your body in the long run. It is to be used for material items you can replace, but women have it easier, right? So for those of you who just hopped on, first of all, please get those likes up. What we are basically talking about right now, if you're new, is that we kind of went down the level of exploring how much money women actually make, right? How much money are bosses making? How successful are businesses? We've discussed that 70% of small businesses fail within the first 10 years. We looked at Black women, what they're actually making. This year, I looked at something from the I think it was a Bureau of Labor and Statistics, their blog, and they actually broke down what's happening economically for Black women. We discovered Black women are some of the least paid. We discovered that Black women are some of the least employed, even when they control for education and can, control for higher degrees and that matter. They still don't make as much as some of their white counterparts, and especially as some of their male counterparts. So again, why is this important when we are having this discussion about Black women leveling up and being boss babes? Because we actually need to understand how they're living on a day-to-day basis. Because that actually helps us have a proper understanding of how to level set expectations. And I think it's dangerous to put ourselves on a high horse when we in reality are not living up to standards that we ourselves are putting on other people. That I think is unhealthy. So this is kind of where we're at. We went over those stats. Now we're going over a video that I saw off of Real Talk with Yanni with a woman who was just like, I think, expressing her concern. And I'm just going over and sharing my thoughts. Okay, continue.
Why are we acting like this isn't a two-way street? The same way women will enter relationships with men solely for money is the same way in which men enter relationships with women for consistent sex. Women don't seek out men with money because we're just manipulative users by nature. It's because we see through men, and we know that if we attach ourselves to someone who barely sees us as a person, we may as well be getting something out of it.
Okay. So basically what she said, men, they don't clean, they don't cook, they're emotionally unavailable, they have a lot of affairs, they don't satisfy women sexually. And so because they don't hit on all those cylinders, the only thing men are good for is money. And that does not make women selfish. It just means that is the only value they can extract from men. That is in essence what she just said. Now, the thing about one of the things that stood out to me about that conversation too was this comment of just like, so, okay, he's not satisfying you sexually. I'm thinking, first of all, how many partners have you had to where you're comparing yourself to all these different men? That's, this is why, and that's another conversation. I am all for sexual purity. I do not support hoe culture. I do not support hopping around and having multiple sex partners. I think that does nobody good, especially women. But that is another conversation. But with that said, let's say that is your experience, you want to settle down. Okay, now you have to deal with the fact that whoever you chose, you're not comparing that person to every single person that you had, every single fantasy, every single sexual escapade, whether that was an F-boy or not. You're comparing your sexual experience with a real man with an F-boy, and you're unsatisfied. The real man is working. He doesn't necessarily have as much time to be figuring out how to do bedroom tricks as somebody who spends a lot of their time sleeping around. But that's the topic. So she uses all these things to basically justify women using men for money only. I see. Shout out to Raw. I see. It says, can you have an episode on how women will love Destiny's Child Soldier, putting pressure on young boys that if you want a pretty Black girl, you got to be a good street thug, but they cater to you. That's facts. That may actually be a good topic. That's a good one, actually. Thank you for that. But anyway, do y'all see the ideology behind that? I wanted to play that. It's a very short video, but I think she did a really good job of capturing some common beliefs among Black women, or just women in general. I don't even want to say this is Black women. We're focusing on Black women, but this is a shared belief among a lot of women today. Again, men are emotionally unavailable. Men are cheaters. Men, they don't help around the house. They don't help with the kids. They don't satisfy sexually. They don't satisfy emotionally. They're really good for nothing. The only thing they have to offer is money. So women who want to get with guys just because of their resources or because of their money should not be blamed. Should not be blamed. So I hope you guys are understanding me and you are following me on where I'm going with this. Why is this important? Why is this important? What we just discovered, what we just went over previously with all the information is we discussed that Black women are broke. Black women, by and large, are not doing well financially. Now, here's the thing. This is no knock to them personally, because a lot of people in America right now are not doing well financially. So this is not to say that Black women are horrible, everyone else is doing well and they're failing. No, a lot of people are struggling. But because we are focusing on Black women, and because there is a lot of talk specifically encouraging Black women to be boss babes, to level up, to raise their standards, to not settle, to, dream bigger and want better, because that is the talk, then it's like, why aren't we actually talking about having discussions about what we are going through? Financial struggles, unemployment, not being paid equally, maybe working more, getting paid less. And I think instead of us discussing that, what some of us actually do, this is just my thesis, right? This is just my theory. I think what some of us actually do is, we have those financial struggles and we use that and justify that as a way to go for men with money or to go after men who have money. I don't think it is necessarily a bad thing to be like, look, I want to be with a guy that has money. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it does become a bad thing when you do so not out of respect, but out of disrespect. In that particular video, she doesn't have any respect for men because, as she says, she believes men don't respect women. So when she's going after men, she's doing it just to get a paycheck. How is that any different than a prostitute? How is what she just talked about, what she basically implied was that at the end of the day, the only thing men are good for is money. How is that any different than a prostitute who says, I will offer you this service, I will offer you my body, I will offer you my looks for this amount of time, nothing else in exchange for money? How is that any different? Somebody let me know. Please let me know. Let me know. How's it any different? And this is what I am saying. I think the bigger picture is that boss babes, many of us are broke. Many boss babes are actually broke, right? And on top of that, I think because of our financial struggles, we by default, of course, are looking for ways to escape that. We are looking for ways to do better. But I wish instead of us actually talking about luxury, leveling up, and having all these hope-filled, faith-filled conversations, those I put faith in quotation marks, instead of us talking about fantasy, I wish we actually talked about reality, because then maybe we could actually get to a solution. Instead, we promote fantasies about bossing up, not talking about the fact that many of bosses fail and that Black men in particular are paid less, and then we hide that reality, and then I think we go seek after men and try to use them for money. Of course, this is not everybody. Of course, this is not the case for all people, but this is certainly a popular ideology. And we see there what was so interesting to me about that entire reel, that she did a great job, I think, of justifying basically using men for resources. Why should women today use men for resources? Because they're not good for anything else anyways. So if you are money hungry and you say, look, I'm only going to go after a dude that makes $150K, that can take me on vacations, buy me Birkin bags, it doesn't matter because he's not offering me of any value anyways. So it's not a big deal if I use him for money. To me, it sounds like a way to justify just using a person for money and to not have to take accountability for the fact that, hey, maybe you're just broke and you're looking for an easy way out. Or maybe you don't want to respect with a man, you don't want to get in a man's program, but you still want his pocketbook. And like I said, you can't be a boss babe. You can't be a boss babe, right? But then require the resources of a man and use hoish behavior, sleep around, do different things to try to get resources at the same time. Either you're boss babe and you're leveling up and you're not depending upon the resources of another person because you're on that level, or you are struggling and you are depending upon and hoping to use another man for his resources. But to me, it's really interesting to see some of the justification, for that. And while, the woman in her video, I can speak to her experiences personally. It sounds like she's had some very, some very difficult, unfortunate ones. So no judgment to her, but I will say her talking points, I think, specifically speak to a larger ideology that many of us maybe have heard or adopted or considered, that I think sometimes is just not necessarily helpful. So, I mean, you see the woman on the video needs therapy. Look, I need therapy, y'all. Ain't nobody out here perfect. But yeah, no, like I said, it is rough out there, and that's what I'm saying. So you see, it is prostitution. That's what I'm saying. How is that any different? You saying, look, because men aren't worth anything, all they're good for is money anyways. I'm like, well, that's what a prostitute would say. She would offer her body or her looks or whatever and say, I'm going to give you this service in exchange for money. She sounds like she's not interested in a relationship because men aren't trash. Men aren't worth anything anyways. So I'm going to offer this particular aspect of myself, this product related to me, in exchange for money. Again, please tell me how that is different than prostitution. It doesn't sound like it is. It says they chose men off of money, not character, and they get mad when they get abused and cheated on. Facts. So I mean, yeah, that is, that's my point. That's my point. That's really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to go over this really and just kind of dissect this a little bit more. Really dissect this because, like I said, many boss babes are broke. We got a whole bunch of broke boss babes going around here, basically needing to act like 304 so that they can hopefully get some form of resources from these men to survive. And I think some of them are just justifying it. Instead of saying, look, I'm a boss babe that's broke and I don't make no money selling my lashes or doing my nails, or I don't make enough to sustain myself in this very difficult economy. Instead of saying that honestly, you'd rather, pump yourself up, try to portray a certain image, and then use or justify using men to get money. And I'm like, I don't know that that's healthy or that that's good. It said, women should never compare themselves with 304s. I agree. And I think we should never desire to be 304s either. My personal opinion. So yeah, I mean, that is what I had to say on the matter. I have a few minutes. I think I have maybe a few minutes if anybody wants to call in. So I'm going to share really quick. If anybody has any thoughts on this, any thoughts on what I've shared, I would love to hear from you. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to drop this link down in there. I'm going to drop this link down in there. I have, like I said, a few minutes, but so that is my, that's my opinion on the matter. That is my opinion. And like I said, it was pretty, anytime I actually do research on what's going on and what people are making, I'm always so surprised. I'm always like, oh my gosh, like how are we here talking about luxury? Okay, sorry about that. So like I said, I have a few minutes if anybody wants to call in, and if not, then we'll wrap things up because that's pretty much my thesis, as I call it. again, just to wrap things up. No, you're not good. You're not tripping. I accidentally hit the mic button. So just kind of wrap up what we went over. We discussed that. So do you call it Instagram? No, I had put the link here. Right here is where I put the link. I'm just tagging it there. So we discussed again that 70% of small businesses fail within the first 10 years, all businesses, right? So when we want to think about boss babes, we have to know that's a really small percentage of the population. Now, how many of those 30% of small businesses that make it, how many of those are Black owned and Black women, Black female owned? That's another question. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's a relatively small percent, just considering the different racial discriminatory things that happen on a mass scale. I'm sure it is a smaller percent when it's compared to, white men and white women, things like that. But anyways, only 30% of small businesses succeed past 10 years. So we discussed that. We also discussed that Black women, again, are some of the least employed, and that they have, the highest unemployment rate. And also that they're the least paid, even when you control for education. Women who go up and try to get higher degrees, things of that matter, they still are not paid equally compared to men in general, and especially white men. So that is what we have covered off. And so again, it is important to have those kinds of discussions and have that kind of understanding when we are talking about leveling up, being a boss babe, all of the above. And so so with all evidence, right, knowing the amount of financial struggles and financial limitations that Black women face on a day-to-day level, can we accurately say that Black women in general are really leveling up, being boss babes and being their own entrepreneurs and being successful? Based upon the numbers that I've seen, no. There are those who are doing so, and I don't think there's anything wrong there's nothing wrong with desiring to do that. But I think the loudness of the narrative, if you will, right, how loud the narrative has become, I don't think actually matches the numbers of those who have been successful. And I think the bigger issue to me is that if we ever find reasons to put ourselves on a level or put ourselves on a pedestal to where we feel like we are better than the men that are around us, and we use different reasons whatsoever to demonize, to minimize them, I think that's dangerous, especially when the stats show that we're doing less financially, at least. We're doing less well. We have less wealth than men. We're getting paid less than white men, even than Black men. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my point. What are we really talking about when we're talking about boss babe? What does that mean? You said the link takes you to Instagram, really? Oh, wait. Sorry. Oh, oops, my bad. You're so right. You're hacker. Okay, you're so right. My bad. Yeah, I'm tired. This is so we'll have some short calls and wait, no, that's the same. That's so weird. What's going on here? Okay, I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna try this one more time. Okay, I think this one. Wait, StreamYard. Come on now. Okay, there you go. I'm sorry about that, people. Okay. I see most Black women own businesses. Okay. All right. So it looks like I have a caller in. Hey, what's up? What's going on?
What's going on, Chez? It's Mr. Z. I've been on your I've listened to your channel a couple of times.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. I know I've seen you in the comments. Thanks for stopping by. So what do you think? What do you think on today's topic?
So the boss babe thing, man. I mean, that might be the lingo that's being used now, but I mean, we could trace that back to Waiting to Excel with the Angela Bassett character, and I mean, like you could probably follow that back to late civil rights movement, early second wave feminist movement with Black women. But then, like you said, the numbers aren't reflected. And when I have these conversations with people, I like to bring that up. Like half of Americans earn 31 grand a year or less.
Right.
Half of American women earn some. Go ahead. But yeah, no, half of American women earn 25 grand a year or less. So like, where are all these boss babes, right? Like you said, like 40 some odd percent of Americans earn like $15 an hour or less. Like, so where are all these boss babes? I don't, and that's not me like chastising women and Black women in particular, but it is to say like the lingo doesn't match the numbers.
No, absolutely. And that is my main point. That is my main point, that I am not opposed to desiring to do better, to desiring luxury, to desire nothing wrong with that. I am certainly opposed to promoting false ideas that lead to false expectations, disappointment, unrealistic expectation when it comes to men, and which ultimately leads to worse outcomes. That is dangerous. So I completely agree. I completely agree with you.
To me, it's just, and I said this in the comments, it's just, just really interesting ways of insulting Black men. We see this all across the internet, which is like one sister will attack you from a left-leaning perspective, then she'll attack you from a right-leaning perspective, then she'll attack you from a traditional patriarchal perspective, then she'll attack you from a modern feminist perspective, and it's like.
That's facts. No, that's facts. That's facts. It's like you keep on, and that's what I started to notice too. My Cynthia G video, and then after this, I'm gonna move on because it looks like I have a few callers, more callers. Okay. But I noticed that in the Cynthia G, where it's like, we kind of discuss these different things, right? Different facts about Black men don't booning, Black men are this, yada yada, and then I address those things, and then they move the goalposts. I'm like, well, this, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk about that, and then it's like, oh, well, that. And it's like, okay, you weren't saying that before, but well, then hear that. And it's just like, at this point, it's like, no, you're not actually having a serious conversation. It just seems that you're working backwards from your conclusion. So,
and I'll end with this, let other people get in. At the end of the day, it's really weird because I think what these particular people want is the patriarchy without the patriarchal men. And so they just want you to resign yourself to just being a walking wallet and overglorified guard dog, and allow these particular women to freestyle and live the life however they want with minimal repercussion, if any repercussions at all. That's right. And I'll end with that. Thank you for having me up.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for being on.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Kat, how's it going?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a very interesting topic. So, I'm glad you're talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just wanted to kind of shine some light on an issue that I kind of see with the young people.
Yeah, totally.
Like my nieces and nephews, who are college age, and I think they should be going to college, doing the traditional thing. Like my nephew, he's like, he doesn't want to go to college because he just wants to be an entrepreneur. So I'm like, okay, like, what does that even mean? Like, do you even know what that means? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, I mean, like, it's just, the mentality just kind of trickles down also to like, even like older women, like myself, like I'm in my 30s, and there'll be women like, that I work with that, have these side hustles and like MLMs that they think are going to like take off. And I hate MLMs, but that's another topic. But, like they put so much like energy into these things that are just so superficial and stupid. And then, when I go to the mall sometimes and I see the lines for the Louis Vuitton store, like, I'm like, how do you even afford that? You can't afford that. You know what I mean? Like, why are you standing in that line?
Right. No, that's facts.
It's just, it's all for show, like to show that, I have this when, like I don't know, but I just know that they don't have money in their bank, because they've got Louis Vuitton this. And like I had a friend who like just had to have a BMW. And she's like struggling to pay other bills. I'm like, I don't know, like the priorities are just off. Like everybody is so superficial. For what reason? I don't know.
I agree about that. The pressure is real. The pressure is real sometimes to have to conform or have to portray a particular image that's not your reality. And that's what I say before. It's like there's nothing wrong with desiring to do better and wanting to level up, right? Or wanting to experience a certain level of luxury or comfort. I'm not saying that it's wrong to desire that and to work with that however you can personally, but I do think it is certainly dangerous when we just promote false lifestyles and false ideas. So
yeah. And, back to what your topic was, with the men, they just see men as paychecks. you know, I believe that man should be a provider as well, but that's not all there is to a human being. So,
Of course.
you know,
And again, if you're up for the for traditional role and doing things associated with that, then it's like, yeah, then I had a conversation also with he's probably YouTuber called Philip Scott. I'm sorry, I'm like drawing a blank. He runs this large channel called I think Africana Diaspora, and he has like 1 million followers. But he does a lot of different things. And he was saying that he coaches men, and one of the things that he tells them is that he believes that men should be the sole provider. And he's like, you know, if I'm making, you know, a little right now, we're living off of the little that we have. I'm not, because he's like, I don't ever want to put myself in a situation where I got to depend on a woman for half the bills. She gets sick. She does a woman do. She has emotional bouts. She gets pregnant. And now what I'm gonna do? So she's like, I've always had the mindset that wherever we're at, we're living off of my money, and then whatever the woman brings in is residual, you know. And so he was more old school, but
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So again, Kat, I appreciate you calling in. I do have a few more people I gotta get to.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
bye.
Absolutely. Okay, and we got. I think we got. Hello. You there? I don't know that I see. You there? Okay, I'm gonna move on. Oops.
Hello?
You there?
Yes. Hello?
Hello. So what you got on the topic?
Basically, what's happening is you have two subcultures interacting with each other, where you have street culture versus civilian culture.
Right.
It goes along with the saying where I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Where
Okay.
a lot of these females trying to make, what they're doing is, their business is they selling cookies, right?
I like baking cookies. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. They selling cookies, but they want to make it appear as it's a upstanding business arrangement, when it's simply just you just selling cookies. And they want men to see them outside of that, outside of them just selling cookies. They 304s want to be treated as the same high standard as a man would treat a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and how a man looks at a woman, they want the same power and control, but they don't want the responsibility as the woman. And the power and control that women have is based upon how a man values her womb and how responsible that woman is with her womb. I mean, that's the essence of how you got the word woman. That's the essence or the creation of the word woman. You know, because a man valued how responsible a female was with her womb.
Right.
And a lot of these females, that's why the nicest thing I could say, call a female that's not a woman, is female. That's the nicest thing I could call it.
Yeah.
As a female. If you're not operating under the confines, same thing with males. If you're not operating as a man, I ain't gonna call you no man. So it's not like no bias thing where I'm being biased. Yeah. I mean, I anyway. So that's what's happening. They're selling cookies, and they want to justify it. There's no, and they're trying to also justify abuse. Now, you know, there's nothing wrong with being used, but there is something with being abused. Right. You know, there's this thing I say, if I can't be used, I'm useless. But at the same time, I don't want to be abused. Like, you know, and that's what's happening. They're abusing men, And a lot of them, what they do is, and how they justify it is, they lump all males in together, and
Right.
where a lot of times the type of male that would cheat on you, like the whole concept of cheating is goofy to me, because I'm not playing no game. Like there's no game being played. And what happens is, a lot of times a female will think that because a man is sexually connected with them, that they have some exclusivity on that male. And what happens is, but only thing that female might provide is sex. So, and a lot of times that female who deals with individuals who have, who was very active sexually, a lot of times they choose the dogs. They know he a dog.
That's true.
Or the cookie hunter. They choose the cookie hunters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they get surprised that they can't lock him down.
Yeah.
Because most men will prefer stability.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna chat your head up too long.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you stopping by. I do have a few other calls I want to get to, but I appreciate you stopping by.
You have a lovely evening.
Okay, you too. All right. Again, for those of you who are on, please get those likes up. Again, if you want to show some support to the show, you can find me on Cash App, Shay Charday, Cash App or Venmo, Shay Charday. Also appreciate all y'all who have sent through super chats in love. That is much appreciated. That's what keep this engine going. Okay, I got a few more calls and then we're gonna wrap it up. I'm getting pretty sleepy here. Getting bedtime. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Bishop, I think I got you on the line. You there? Are you there? Okay, well, I'm gonna move over to the last caller, and then we'll see if that.
I'm gonna have to go very quickly because I have my own little calling show.
Yeah, that's fine.
I will say this: the broke bitch model is failure. I covered this enough times on my channel about they're saying that these so-called quote unquote garden tools are winning. I disagree, because if you're just getting body counts, little money here and there, and we all know the average amount of money women can make off the internet, especially when they talk about OnlyFans, which is like over $100, maybe a month, possibly. It tells you your chances of really winning going through that rhetoric is a failure. Is a failed plan. And I'm not saying women should get on the knees and submit fully and find a man, but I said a man should be in the equation in this uncertain times and uncertain economy we're in now.
Right.
And you see the problem with why our women think like this, Charday, is because they don't want to be on a no ruleship of no man, unless it's their boss or some other.
Yeah, it's not like an interpersonal relationship. No, I agree. I do agree. I do agree with that. Definitely.
So like I said, it's gonna be very interesting moving forward in the 2022 and beyond. I know it's not gonna look any better or easier. And I will say this: if you never cover this, I will. There is a growing trend of older women doubling down on younger men and searching for what they call a build-a-boo potential. You always hear they talk about say they're not building about or potential, right? They're lying.
Yeah, that people have been doing that for years in every generation. They've been building with their husband, with their, that's just kind of how has happened for most people. Now, there are a very, very small percentage of people who are born into wealth, but like I said, if you are Black in America, that is likely not your experience because of the history associated with that. So yeah, in most cases, you're going to have to build something or help establish something. And if your parents had even a little something, it's still not going to be compared to, you know, generational wealth in the system that has kind of helped put certain people in positive position. So, yeah, I hear you. I think that's just kind of realistic.
Well, you know, this is Chaos Rain here. You can find me on YouTube like always. I'm out, and like always, let it chaos rain.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by. Okay, we're gonna try this one more time, and then I'm gonna wrap this thing up. Are you there? I don't know why I'm having a hard time hearing you. Okay, well, we might have to do a take 2 on this. Call in show next time. Next time we do it, you can call in. So I want to appreciate all of you guys who have stopped by and hung out with me tonight. Again, I think just to wrap up things, I think women can absolutely and should absolutely desire to do better. It's okay to want luxury things, to want to see Black women have luxury items, right? Or to want to see Black women portrayed in good, positive ways. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's healthy. It's normal. And, you know, it's fine. I think, though, we've got to caution against starting to promote an ideology that is not really founded in reality. As I mentioned before, 70% of small businesses failed in the first 10 years. This is not to scare you or to say that you can or should not start your own thing, your own side hustle. But we really want to be honest and understand, what are we saying when we're saying boss babes? And most people don't actually live up to that reality. Not to mention that most Black women are the least paid, and also, you know, in very many ways, at least employed, based upon some of the data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So, with that said, I think it's important that we get off our high horses. I think it's important, rather, that we have healthy, realistic expectations, be humble, be okay with whatever we may be doing, whether it's good or bad or in between, and then go from there. But we should not use our struggle financial situation to participate in hoish behavior and to justify using men as just wallets. If you want to use a man as a wallet, you should be open and honest about that. I wouldn't recommend it, but if that's how you see it, I think it's better to be open and honest, but I don't think you should justify it and say, well, men are trash anyway, so then I should just treat him like a trash bag. I don't know that that is necessarily a completely honest dialogue, but those are my thoughts. So, do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Again, get those comments up. I appreciate, as always, you know what I mean? I want to send all love. I'm going to send all love with the super chats. I'm going to leave it. A shout out to all y'all who have sent some love, some financial support. Again, this is what keeps me in this thing going. So I appreciate all the support, however big or small. Again, appreciate the super chats. And if you want to continue to support, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo, Shay Sade. Lastly, if you guys haven't heard already, we are actively working on building the Black Men Built Back campaign. You know what, actually, this was probably, maybe this is like a bonus, but if you're still on here, I think this is important. I posted this in the community tab. I know sometimes my community tab, not everybody sees that, but I think this is actually important to go through because this specifically is one of the reasons that I would like to continue to push to get support for this and push to get this message. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring this up. Like I said, this is somewhat of a bonus, but let me share it. Let me share it. So here we are. Here we are. Talking about.
I said, this Black man probably don't even like Black girls. He probably doesn't even talk to Black women. He probably don't even think twice about Black girls at all whatsoever.
So this is so again, this is what's being said, right? This is the foundation of what's being said. So I was sent this earlier today, and it was alarming to me. I was actually kind of shocked. But the good thing about it was that I think it was somewhat of an admission. And I'm going to read it to you because this is important. So it says, this is a woman who was actually being honest about why she in particular and women who are working with her continue to include Black men in the divestment movement, although the movement is about actually marrying out. She says, you keep asking, why do divestment channels talk about Black men so much? I feel like I have answered this question a million times before. Please read this slowly. We want to recruit young Black women as young as elementary age. We want to educate. And lastly, we want them to start practicing what we preach. Those 3 reasons. Divestment is not for older women. That's kind of what it says. And then it says, do you know how easy it is to tap into a Black woman's mind, to have her go against you? It is almost too easy. Bring up colorism, abusive mother, and grape, and she is mine. She is ripe. She is ripe for choosing, ripe for picking. She is mine. Bring up those emotional points. The hardest part is getting the young people, 16 and under. They still see the world through the eyes of a child. They have innocence to them. Over time, we will figure out how to get to them. Let me see. It says, let me see, 1 second. Okay. It says, and lastly, we want them to start practicing what we preach. Those 3 reasons. Divestment is not for older women, it is for children. It's our job as older women to educate the younger women by the masses. Cynthia G is nothing but a human sacrifice to our movement. You're absolutely right. No woman wants to be like her. That is why it is important for her to tell her story to young Black women to not give birth to Black babies.
I said, this Black man probably don't even like Black girls. He probably doesn't even talk to Black women. He probably don't even
remember
think twice about Black girls at all whatsoever.
Y'all remember. So this is a popular belief, y'all. I'm not making this up. I saw this. I was kind of shocked. I was like, whoa, this is just pretty blatant. But she's like, look, we are trying to take over the next generation. That is our goal. Divestment is no longer for just, the older woman, the woman of age. This is for the younger generations. This is for the young, innocent girls. This is for the young, innocent, really for the young, innocent boys who are going to have to be privy to this. This is what it's about. And so, again, one of the reasons I, in particular, am really hoping and really passionate to get more support and to hopefully start to push this message for all the different things the good things that have happened in the Black community, and especially the good positive things Black women in particular have done, is because the attack is against Black men. But what this ends up meaning is that Black men and Black women in particular end up actually being destroyed in this process. When we attack one, the other one is automatically attacked. If we attack Black women, that automatically means Black women indirectly are going to be affected. And so the reality is there are people out there who have made it very clear that their goal is to infect young children in particular with self-hating narratives about all the different things Black men have not done. My hope in particular is to start to put out messages about the positive things Black men have done in the community. So at least when these children grow up, they have a safe space to know that that's not the only message out there. They're not being totally and completely bombarded with lies, because best believe me, the lies are out there. The lies are growing, unfortunately, and people are supporting it. But if you want to support truthful, encouraging, powerful messages, if you hope to grow up, and have a place for maybe your sons or your daughters or your grandchildren to at least have spaces, at least have content, where they can look and be proud about the accomplishments people made who look like them, especially if you're a young Black boy, Sign up to become a channel member. My hope was to turn this Black Men Built That series into videos, and like I said, to start to promote the positive things they have done. Again, we're talking technology, we're talking engineering, we're talking architecture, we're talking math, sciences, all the different things that they say that Black men haven't really made contributions in. The fact is, that's actually a lie. And I think it's about time we start talking about it and start supporting content that is starting to address some of the propaganda. So again, if this speaks to you, if this is something that you would like to do, that you would like to support, sign up to become a channel member. You can do this literally for as low as $4.99 a month. And again, the hope is to start to get the message out there and to start to counteract some of the propaganda. They've told you what they're trying to do. They've made their intentions clear. The question is, what are we going to do about it? So the choice is yours. Y'all let me know. But again, I wanted to share that with you because I saw that earlier and I thought it was pretty disturbing, but I also at least appreciated that it was honest. So again, thank you for all of you who have stopped by, who have hung out with me this night. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support. Again, sign up to become a channel member. My hope is to get at least 3 channel supporters. Again, I really, really, really appreciate the love. Shout out to Miss Delta Guy for the money coming to me now. Love and support. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the love. So again, I love all you guys. Appreciate for you stopping by. Again, if you agree, disagree, have any other questions, comments, concerns, leave your stuff in the comment section below, and we're going to talk soon. We'll talk later. Peace out. Bye.